You're listening to the Actors Resource Podcast with Aaliyah Lay, a podcast for actors and improvisers with interviews from entertainment industry experts.
Our guest today is Tony Rago, who is a multi-hyphenate. He is an actor, producer, writer, director, and teacher with over 50 theatrical productions under his belt. Co-founder of Wawa Productions, which produced the award-winning short film Rimshot. He was also a member of Acme Comedy Theater, Improv, and Sketch, and starred in their online TV shows. Tony can be seen as the clown in the horror comedy film Killer Party, recently starred in the online comedy web series Dog Park, and was also the writer, producer, and star of the award-winning web series Whacked. You can find him currently every month directing or performing improv with the long-running group The Cliffhangers at LA's Impro Studios. Tony also travels around the country with a scripted and improvised murder mystery where he performed in Bosnia for the troops on a USO tour, so he's also a giver. Tony initially joined Scott Sedita Acting Studios first as a student before becoming an assistant and eventually a teacher. Thank you so much for being our guest and helping fellow actors out.
Yeah, sure. As an actor, I have, extreme empathy for people out there trying to do it, and I think that's whatever I can do to kind of give anyone any kind of help. Because I think when I did it, I really, I came from a blue collar background, and I had this, skill, this talent that I did in high school and all that, but I was not pursuing it until I got out of high school because my folks were like, that's not a job, that's a playtime, but then I ended up getting this scholarship to go to this small college. Yeah. And that's when I think literally I was 18. I've been acting since I was 9 on the stage. And even before that, taking classes. And it wasn't until then that they were like, is this something you want to actually do? And that's all I had ever been talking about. And so even me, doing it, I think I came into it just not informed and wasted a lot of years, a lot of those valuable young years, not just trying to even figure out which way was up, and so I hate that anyone might be out there and wasting time just because they don't know.
Yeah, almost any other industry has you go to step A, step B, step C. It's really delineated. Whereas for acting and other creative fields, it's not necessarily step 1, 2, 3, and 4.
No, I know. Every other business is sort of a ladder of advancement. And with acting, it's like a flat, anything can happen. There's 1,000 different ways, and the one proven way for person X can immediately be tried by person Y and not work, and
yeah,
it's a crapshoot.
It's a crapshoot.
Which brings into this thing of this element of luck. And one thing that Scott often talks about is that opportunity, preparation and opportunity is what creates luck, Yeah. And so, you always have to kind of be ready for this odd opportunity to just sort of pop up. And if you are always ready, then the surprising thing is more opportunities pop up.
That's actually encouraging and great news. So what can an actor do to be prepared and ready? And is there any difference between being prepared and ready as somebody who's moves to LA right after college or right after high school versus somebody who's been through a more traditional career and kind of getting into acting now at a later age?
I think for both people, it's the same thing. Because what you're basically talking about in terms of anyone coming out of school or just coming to LA or coming out of a career as an older person, I think the main thing especially for Los Angeles, is to know who you are and what your type is. And that's a really hard thing for an actor to be able to objectively know. And the best way to do that is you get into a class where other people are constantly telling you, that's what you are, that's what you are, that's what you are. And so, I think it was when I moved to LA, I think it was 5 years before I ended up getting into a class, because all that time beforehand I was auditioning thinking, I've got a bachelor's degree. I've done tons of theater in Chicago. I know.
Right. And I know you can do it all.
Yeah. But it was understanding who I am, especially in terms of television, which is really what LA is. It's a TV town, not a movie town. And understanding what I am in terms of TV. And the funny thing is, before moving to LA, I was as equally trained in comedy as I was in drama, and would often do drama, because a lot of theater, especially in Chicago, in the smaller kind of gritty kind of stuff, is dramatic. And so I was doing a lot of dramatic theater, but in coming out to LA and going out on auditions, the slow process that I discovered was my default as a person is to make someone laugh, to kind of get that ice break going. So I would walk into auditions and try and make people laugh, which instantly put me sort of in this comedy category. Even if I was going out for drama, you don't go in as the, like jilted, jealous, betrayed boyfriend and come in going, hey, everybody, how's it going? Boom, boom, bang, bang, because then they don't see you as that, And so part of the whole reason of even sort of doubling down on the comedy was knowing that one of my weaknesses in auditions is needing to go in and break the ice with a laugh. So if I'm going to do that automatically, I might as well be going for comedy anyways. And not that I wasn't a funny person, I always enjoyed doing comedy and sketch and stuff like that, and grew up watching sitcoms and devouring them. So it was not a hard move, but I think that comes down to that, who are you? Who are you? For LA specifically, it really helps to know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And like I was saying, getting into a class is an easy way to kind of get that information. But I think there's other ways to do it too. And that can be stuff where, whether you're in a pandemic and you're trapped inside, or whether you just moved to LA and you want to get into a class, but you're still struggling to kind of establish that survival job or anything like that,
Mm-hmm.
And I think some of the ways to get to know yourself is to watch TV and see who out there is you.
Like your essence, not what you look like necessarily.
Yes, your essence. Although it can even start with, what do you look like?
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things we often get is, you know who you look like? You look like so-and-so, and that kind of can also go then to your essence. I used to get, when I was in my early 20s, I would get like Jerry Seinfeld. I would get James Spader. I sometimes still get James Spader, but now from The Blacklist when he's fat, bald, and evil. But those sort of things I think also lend themselves to your personality. Because in my early 20s, I was this sort of like smart aleck, happy-go-lucky kind of guy, but at the same time had this, kind of James Spader-esque element of superiority, and I don't think I realized that in my early 20s until I got into class and started realizing that about myself. But the hindsight of it was, people have been telling me that all along, just by, who you look like. And so, I think even if you aren't in class, it's that thing of ask your family, ask your friends, ask a room full of people you've just met.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, who am I to you? What, who do I remind you of? Where would you see me?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a great thing as a way to kind of get to, well, that's probably who I am. And then the thing is, you gotta kind of in LA start by doing anything, and everything is subjective.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll come here, and even if you know yourself, I am the nerd, the dorky nerd, and I'm going to do this type of thing. When you get here, you're going to go out for military roles as, GI Joe #3,
Mm-hmm.
and I went out on some black ops kind of guy, and I was like, really, me?
Mm-hmm.
But for those smaller roles, they're not looking for essence or character. They're looking for just a body type and just do it. And so sometimes what ends up happening is, the business itself will kind of guide you into who you think you are, or who you actually are. I often think of Christopher Walken, who
Mm-hmm.
fancies himself a song and dance man,
Hmm.
but in the mid 70s was just constantly cast as these like creepy, intense guys.
Right.
And
Which he comes across.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, you can't come away from Chris Walken and say not creepy and intense. The funny thing is, the more he established his career, the more he was able to expand it into a little bit of that song and dance man, sort of like with the stuff that he did on Saturday Night Live and with the sort of jokey play on his role, on his character type of movies that he did,
Where he like parodied himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as much as we go, oh, this is who I am, sometimes the business directs us in that regard.
Oh, interesting. So part of being prepared is knowing who you are when you come to LA, because LA, you were saying, is really a TV town versus a movie town.
Yeah. Well, in the sense that, a lot of the movies, and this has been for years, don't film in LA. They'll cast in LA and then they'll go out. And so to land a beginner role is easier to do when they're filming it right there. They'll take a movie and cast 6 big names from Los Angeles and then head out to Michigan to film it. And all the smaller roles will be cast in Michigan, which is why this whole local hire thing has become a big deal. For now that technology has made it where we can audition in Michigan or, and flights are semi cheap, even if you just fold it into a suitcase. That made local hire something that Los Angeles actors can kind of fake and do,
Right.
So that does make it more of a kind of, you can get a beginner role in movies, but the easier thing is in television.
And there's so much in LA.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So part of being prepared is knowing who you are, and then anything else about prepared, and then also about opportunity. Like, what does that mean exactly? Is it just auditions? Is there something else?
It's opportunity is really networking.
Okay. And talk about that, because there's some people who don't like the word networking.
Yeah, but mostly because they think of networking as like cold calling, walking up to someone you don't know and saying, "Hi there, my name is Tony Rago, and I'd like to do."
Yeah.
But networking can be at any time you don't even realize you're doing it type of thing, Like one of the first things that happened to me that ended up happening a lot, but the first time I just didn't know how to take advantage of it was I was waiting tables, and this was the first restaurant job in LA. I was still on the lunch shift, which is, like the shitty shift. And as I was just sort of bantering with the table, it was in Burbank. The woman there said, I'm the casting director for Bold and the Beautiful. I should bring you in one time. And it wasn't even,
nice.
Are you an actor? It just, it was just assumed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember I said that you're going to bring me in for The Bold and the Beautiful. Obviously, I'll be auditioning for The Bold. That type of thing. But I didn't know what to do with that. I didn't know, like here was just someone eating lunch and they were like, and then the next thing I know, they're eating their lunch and it's paying and they're gone. It's not a thing like, so what are you doing Tuesday? What I needed to do was then follow up on that.
And how would you have done that without being like, oh my God, she offered, and like glomming onto her in a creepy,
there we go
weird
back
way.
to being prepared.
Yeah.
Is constantly sort of be doing something. So, had I been the smart actor, I could have written her.
Young.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly.
You had no mentorship, right? So anyway, so this is great. Okay.
I had no idea what to do. I just waited for her to come back into the restaurant.
Yeah.
But think about how often you go to the same restaurant, like a year and a half can go by.
Yeah.
So what I should have done was I should have written her right away with like a postcard of myself, with representation, with something that said, hey, we met and you said this, and here's who I am, and this is how you can contact me, rather than the next time you feel like you want spaghetti and meatballs. But I just waited for this person to come back into the restaurant.
Right.
And then that happened again years later, where I would wait on this couple, this gay couple, all the time. And
they were regulars. They knew you.
Yeah. And so we would talk, and it was probably about the 15th time that they said, are you an actor? And I was like, really? Come on. Like, you've got to know by now. And they were like, yeah, no, we know that. But the one guy said, I'm the guy who's starting, this was probably 2004, 2005, he said, I'm the guy who's starting the Here network on cable, which was one of the first like gay kind of channels. And I don't even know if it was broad like LGBTQ. I think it was just gay, but he was like, you should come and meet with my woman who's our casting person, and and do that. And I was like, yeah, okay, but again, I had learned the lesson of, okay, follow up.
Yes. So now you followed up this time.
Yes.
Okay.
It's just then, like I was brought into this woman who now it's essentially a cold call, right? I'd said, hey, I forget the gentleman's name, but like Bill said, I should meet with you. I've been waiting on him. And she said, come on in. And so I get in, and now there's no, like, he's the head of the network. He's not coming down to go, all right, I'm going to oversee this. She's like, okay, so who are you? What do you do? And I was like, well, Bill said, what I mean? Nothing,
right.
Nothing is ever handed to you, even when it's handed to you.
So, like, what could you have done different? Like, I mean, I totally would have done the same thing. Like, well, but Bill just told me to come in. Hi. Yeah. What should you have done instead?
I should have A, known a little bit about their network. B, known how you could plug me into the network. Well, you've got this show, which is about these 30-something, men who are now, looking for love, sort of, let's assume. I don't know what show it was. I didn't look up the network. But I could have done that, and said, who am I? I can be Jack on your show's boyfriend. I can be so-and-so's coworker who is, struggling. I can be such and such's unaccepting brother, that type of thing.
So kind of like selling yourself as the character where you can help them put you in, right? Yeah. Like,
And that's sort of the elevator. You know what the elevator pitch is, right?
I do, but I think you should explain it anyways. Yeah. I mean, I do, but you should explain it.
Yeah, but it is that sort of thing. People talk about it all the time. I think some people are sort of like, huh? it's just that little kind of pitch, that sell of yourself.
Yes.
But if you find yourself suddenly in an elevator and you've got 4 floors to turn to the person who's in the elevator with you and take an opportunity, those are the kind of opportunities that if you're prepared, so even if it does get to a cold call and that sort of is, hi, you don't know me from Adam, and I might be making you scared, but you're trapped in here till fourth floor.
Yeah.
Boom,
this is how I can play or whatever.
Yes. And part of that is you got to know what people do, constantly, at the office, at the studio, Aaron daily reads Deadline and Variety.
Wow.
Which I often find to be very dry, and I don't care to read them.
Yeah.
But I should, because she always knows what's happening.
Right.
And if she was to find herself in an elevator with someone, she would know what they're working on right now to be able. So you don't have to go, hi, I really love your work. What are you doing right now? Maybe I can find a slot in it, Right. Instead you go, hey, you're working on that new AMC show about, Irish Boston families. Well, I'm from Chicago. I'm Irish, that type of thing,
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good.
And so that's know yourself, know how to pitch yourself, and know what's going on in the industry, so that when you randomly find yourself in line with someone, or they're, eating lunch at the table that you happen to be waiting on, you can take advantage of that rather than just go, oh, I am an actor. The only other thing I think I would say is that the landscape of jobs, you were talking earlier about, because LA is a TV town, there's so much TV, and well, I don't even think it's a but.
It's not a but.
It's such a wild west of, it's like the 1910s in terms of, back then Hollywood was just sort of being built, and you could, we hear these stories of, like John Wayne, who was a football player, at one of the local colleges. I can't remember if it was UCLA or USC, and then just got, as a job, got onto production, and someone was like, hey, you're big and strapping here, be a cowboy, is that type of thing, that sort of like anyone could just stumble into anything. And then it sort of got all studioed, and, you had to know a person, and that sense of, well, who do you know? Well, nowadays technology has kind of reopened it up to anyone can, become anyone. But the way you got to do it now is you've got to create your own thing. It's not now I'm on the set and I just happen to be this, good looking, production assistant. Now it's, they happen to be, on Facebook and someone shared my video.
Wow.
And so you have to create content. You have to create something. Yeah. And, and that's what, everyone talks about how, it's going to help you to get cast if you have high social media presence in terms of like followers and such. And honestly, I think that really that can help or not help, but that doesn't, I'm sure it does make a little bit of a difference. But I think the bigger difference is if you're out there saying, this is who I am, you know what I mean? Like, that's really what making that content is. It doesn't.
That's helpful.
Yeah, who are you? Well, then do little things of like, this is who I am. I'm always impressed with the people who continually make just short little videos and are throwing them up. They are unflappable. And I'll admit, I don't know that I have that kind of energy. Most of them are 20s. But I see them, I see the people go, oh my God, this is hilarious. And how do I share this? And that's going to get around. That's going to get around.
And that's is that more about showing who they, because I thought that was a great point, because I've been hearing how we should all be making our own content, and I think it's a great idea. But for me personally, I'm like, oh, I do not want to do that. But then when you said just make it so that you show who you are, like that resonated better with me than trying to think like, now I have to create the story and then film it and blah, blah, blah. Like that one makes more sense. So is it creating content more to showcase who you are?
Totally. And I mean, the funny thing is everyone's sort of looking how to get the viral video. But you can't create a viral video going into it going, I'm going to create something viral. What you do, what I mean? Like that it's so happenstance what becomes viral. So what the better thing to do is I'm gonna throw this up because it amuses me, or I'm gonna throw this up because I had this idea and I think it's funny. In a way, that's showing who you are. But if it comes down to, well, I don't know, then show who you are. For example, you were talking the other day in class. Oh, okay, I'm the dumb one. Is there roles? Is there roles for an older Asian woman as the dumb one?
Right. Middle class, not super older. Middle class. Middle age, not super older.
Yeah. Let's give just the audio listeners a better idea. Hot, really hot. Extremely hot. Youthful, very youthful.
I look like I'm in my 20s.
But you can do a bunch of short little videos that are basically, like, oh, dumb wife, or oh, dumb mom, or dumb moment, all those sort of things where you just capture this. All of us have them at some point during the day. We're like, where's my, I'll do this. Where are my glasses? Has anyone seen my glasses?
Totally.
They're on my forehead.
Right.
And I'll look and search around and also be like, oh my God. And the other day I was walking around going, has anyone seen my phone?
Yeah. I totally, yes.
It was in my hand,
Right.
Boom, there's 2 videos.
No.
That's the length of them. It doesn't have to be anything more. It just has to be something where the result, I think that's the other thing is, I often say, what is the end laugh that you're going for in sitcom? The end laugh that you're going for in sitcom is, but I think all of us try and make these videos with the idea of how do I get someone at home to go,
right. Yeah.
When really all you have to do is get someone to go, totally.
Oh, that helps lower the stakes too. It makes it more doable, I think, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah.
90% of it, you're going to get done with and go, I don't know.
Yes. And then do you still put it up or not?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Still put it up.
Okay.
Because you don't know what'll go. You know what I mean? Like you might put something up and go, all right, I guess I'll put this up.
Yeah.
And everyone loves it. And you're like, really? That was I farted on camera. That's the thing everyone rallies around,
Right.
So, but then at the same time, if it doesn't go viral, that's what you should expect. Don't be like, oh, I put this up and nothing happened with it. Well, I'm obviously not good. No, that's the average. That's what you should expect. The viral is the one time where you're like, what the hell happened?
That's cool. Thank you. Okay. So now last question, which is there anything, first of all, thank you. You've been wonderful, really like dropping down the knowledge bombs. And if you want to come back, please do. That'd be great. But right now, is there anything going on for you that you'd like to promote or share or anything like that?
Well, obviously I was talking about being in class and I teach a class.
You're a wonderful teacher. So full disclosure, I'm in your class. Yeah. That's right. I'm one of your students. Yes.
And it is a letter grade, so she has to say that. No, it's not a letter.
I've been bribed.
Yeah. So, I mean, what do I promote? Well, I promote the studio, Scott Steed Acting Studios, and take the sitcom class and ask for Tony Rago.
Yeah.
I promote, I do improv every now and then.
Do you do that with Aaron?
Yeah.
No way. That's so cool. Yeah. Okay. All right. Sorry. So you do improv. Continue, please.
Yeah. And our group name is the Cliffhangers.
Nice.
And so, we will sometimes do a small live show. And we've been doing it now since 2012. So what is that, 8 years?
That's good.
And we all worked together even before that at a different place under a different sort of group name for probably 4 years before that. So we've been a group for a long time.
Wow.
And so we do shows, but the best way to figure us out and find us is Cliffhangers on like Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and all that.
So is there any social media handles you want to, other than, is it just at Cliffhangers Improv, or is there anything else?
I think it's just at Cliffhangers. I don't even know if it has the word improv on it.
Okay.
Aaron runs the social media, so I probably should have consulted with her before that. But yeah, no, that's the thing. And we're going to do, we were talking earlier about, we mentioned the pandemic.
Yeah.
We're going to try our first Zoom rehearsal show tomorrow, just to kind of see how does that even go, But Aaron was like, let's make it a rehearsal and then we can record it. And if it turns out good, boom, we've got it, And so we'll see how that goes.
Other improv groups are starting to do that, right? So I think that'll work because, I don't know, improv is needed.
I mean, just creating, I think, is a thing that's needed,
Yeah, and fun. Fun is really important, I think.
Yeah.
Cool. Anyways, well, that didn't sound fun at all at the end there.
We kind of put it in
really
important. Context of, we put it in the context of how do we stay sane in this world now, but
yeah.
But someday life might be back to normal and people will be like, wow, how difficult is it to have fun? Well, not difficult.
Cool. Well, I just want to say thank you so much, Tony. Mr. Tony Rago, Rago, at Scott Sedita Studios.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening to the Actors Resource Podcast with me, Aaliyah Lay. I would love to hear from you, so email me, aaliyahklei@gmail.com, ALYAKLEI@gmail.com.